Well, good morning. This is the first podcast by Margie here for the Nature Health channel, and I'm really excited. Sophia and I have been connected for quite some time, and I've always been absolutely astounded by the wisdom that she speaks. So, Sopheia McMorris is not only a coach, but I love the way she calls herself the executive business mentor. So, my channel is all about health and wellness. And I'm going to ask Sophia in just a moment if she would relate how being this amazing mentor is important for health and wellness. Sophia has worked, she has a Bachelor of Science degree in African American Studies and Political Science. She is an author and has spent more than 20 years as a homeschool teacher. Today, Sophia speaks wisdom, as I said to you before, and I'm delighted that anyone watching this podcast has the opportunity of a free special offer of a life assessment from her. All they need to do is click the link below and fill in the form, and away you go. So, Sophia, it is my great pleasure to say good morning to you and welcome. And thank you for accepting my invitation to be my first guest. So, I think
thank you so much for having me.
A great place to start, Sophia, is with your beautiful story.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. Well, my story starts from the time I, was a little girl. So I was born in Jamaica and I was raised there. And so came to the United States. And then after arriving, and starting school, I started experiencing some challenges with my weight. And then I kept going to take diet pills, losing weight, gaining weight, and it just kept going around the mountain. I call it going around the mountain. And what I needed to figure out was a strategy to then get me up and over the mountain so I could stop going around. I think a lot of times we think that we're moving forward, but we're making the same circle always around and around, and not really making the progress that we need to. And that was my situation. So as I was struggling with my weight, I signed up for the gastric bypass surgery, in thinking that this had to be my solution after trying so many different diets. And so when I signed up, I waited, it was like 6 months. And then I still didn't have a surgery date. And I was like, oh my goodness, if I had started doing something, if I had started one of my diet plans, I would have been, further along than I am right now. So I felt so frustrated. I sat down to meditate one morning and I read a quote that says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou would prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prosper." And as the word soul prospered, prosperity spoke to me, I was just like, what is my soul's prosperity? How can I prosper my soul and actually, be successful in losing the weight? So I went on a journey to discover my soul's prosperity, and I found it wrapped with self-mastery. So that's why I teach the art of self-mastery. I then went on to lose 100 pounds and was able to change my life drastically.
Wow, Sophia, that is such an amazing story. Thank you.
Thank you.
In one of the times that we've chatted over the period we've known each other, this quote you mentioned, and I wonder if you would expand a little bit on that. You must find the courage to leave the table if respect is no longer being served. Do you remember that quote?
Yes. I mean, I think that speaks volumes. The whole idea behind that is that, sometimes in our lives, we don't recognize that we're being disrespected or that somebody is not respecting us, whether it's our opinion or our truth or what we believe. And I think that we have to be willing to step away from that. We have to be willing to recognize that, because I think it has to do with our self-esteem and the confidence, that level that we can have within ourselves when we're able to stand up for ourselves, speak our own truth, be willing to, let our voice be heard about how we feel about how we're being treated.
Thank you. That was so to the point. And if we're not being treated well, that is going to affect our health on a very
Yes.
subtle level.
Yes.
So the other question I wanted to ask you was, um, we've talked many times about personal growth. What are the biggest obstacles and mistakes that people make on their journey to where they want to go?
I think one of the things that you can do is to, you have, I call it the top of the head thinking or the top of the mind thinking, where you have this idea. It's like, you know what, I need to do the things differently. I need to change my life. And so you have that moment of awareness, but ends up being that you're not fully aware. And I think that's one of the mistakes that people make, is that they're not aware. They're not aware even of what it's going to take for them to be able to achieve a particular goal. And then sometimes the next mistakes that they could make is that they're not aware that they have a choice. I think a lot of our lives are lived in that autopilot area, where we just kind of day in, day out, and we practice certain things, but we don't always recognize the freedom of choice that we have. And we don't recognize that we can make a decision. And that, when we make the decision, we eliminate some of the things off the table and just really focus on that one thing, that one direction that we want to go in. And so that's some of the mistakes I see people making, is that they don't have this realization, that they do have a choice, that they're not, the awareness that can happen, and also the decisions that need to be made in order to move their lives forward.
Gosh, that's so crystal clear. I have another, just before we close, I want to ask you one more question. Um, if someone was in the situation where they didn't know that they had those issues and they didn't realize they were there, what is the first place to start, or the first port of call?
Well, I would say, that one is kind of, because if you don't know, you don't know. And you can't change what you don't know. And so that's why there needs to be that awareness that you do have. But I would say knowledge. Knowledge is the information that we bring in and that we get in. And so they have to have almost like that wake up call, where somebody interject or something happens to let them get to that place of saying, you know what, enough is enough. I'm done. I don't want to live like this anymore. I'm tired of living this way. And then once they've had that, then it is to step into the awareness of where they are, and then make choices and decision from there to move forward and to be where they want to be.
Well, that's a lot for anyone to take in. So in closing, if I say to you, what would be the one tip that you would give anybody who's actually has a goal but is struggling to achieve it?
I think it would be a lot to look within. I think that the problems and the solution that we have or tend to encounter or face, that the answer lies within us. And it's not outside. A lot of times we tend to, look at the outside and focus on, let me do this or do that. And we focus on the activities, but are really taking that step back and really look within, and being able to become still and quiet in order for you to be able to hear those necessary answers, and the truth, in order to actually take the necessary steps to move your life forward.
Sopheia, that was so helpful. Thank you so much. And I want to just appeal to anybody who's listening to this podcast or watching the video to please take advantage of Sopheia's very generous offer for a free life assessment. Very simple. You just click on the link below. So there's many ways to contact Sopheia. In the information below, there's her phone number, there's her email, there's a link to her website, and I can tell you, she is an absolute gem. Whenever I talk to her, I feel inspired. I feel, oh, I've got it now. So, Sopheia, from me, a great thank you, and I look forward to us connecting again real soon. So, bye for now.
Thank you so much.